In this video, you are going to learn the best offer strategy for land investors that are looking to scale their business, make more while working less. What's up, guys? My name is Sumner Healey. I run a business called landinvestor.co. We help folks start, grow, and scale land investing businesses. This is a topic that I am incredibly passionate about because really in the last year, what I've done is kind of come in like an emergency medic to people that come to us with their land investing business that are on life support. And we come in to help them get back up on their feet because there's a lot of bad information out there, especially when it comes to offer strategies and offer types. Now, if you're brand spanking new to land investing, let me give you a little bit of context. In the land investing business, there's a handful of channels that we use to generate seller leads. The most popular is direct mail. Cold texting has become quite favorable these days. Some people do cold calling. Some people might do ringless voicemail, but if we really look at the land business, kind of the backbone of how most people are operating, right? 6 and 7 figure land investors, most of them are going to be using direct mail. It's a tried and true strategy. It's still not incredibly saturated. We still get great response rates. We still get a ton of really good feedback from sellers. And frankly, it works. And one of my rules for anyone that's inside of any one of our coaching programs is if you're brand new, I think you have to start with direct mail. First off, the KPIs are really known. It's really easy to diagnose bad KPIs and know how to fix them. It's really easy to get people on track, up and started, ramped up on direct mail, even if they've got no previous experience in real estate. The rub with some of these other strategies is they're more skill-based, right? There's also a lot more work that goes into them. Cold calling is very much a skill. Cold texting takes a ton of time and it is skill related, right? It's a lot easier to mess up those other strategies. But if we look at direct mail, if you pick the right markets, if you've priced appropriately, good things are going to happen, right? The way we look at direct mail is that they're little soldiers working on your behalf, going out to sellers and kind of presenting your offer and then getting them to call you. They do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And year after year, direct mail has been voted the highest form of trust-based marketing. Like, it's really never changed. There's a lot of trust instilled with direct mail. The same can't be said about cold calling or cold texting. In fact, it's actually kind of a trustless marketing medium. And so direct mail's got a ton of merits. But if we zoom in and we look at direct mail, there's a handful of different offer strategies that we use inside the land business. The first, which everyone's probably familiar with, is what we call a neutral letter, right? That could be a postcard or it could truly be a letter. And that's just someone soliciting to a seller saying, hey, I want to buy your property, but there's no price included. It's pretty open-ended. You've probably got these in the past if you own a house, or maybe if you even own a piece of land. You've probably got these very blanketed, cookie-cutter, generic letters that get sent to you. And that's kind of the bedrock of a lot of other real estate businesses. It's something that we don't see used a ton in the land business. I'll talk to you guys about why that might be. The second is what we call range offers. So it's saying, hey, seller, I'll pay you between $40,000 and $60,000 for your property, right? And then the third, which has been really kind of the bedrock of land, is what we call blind offers, right? And blind offers have one price on them. It's typically a 2-page letter. Of that first page, it kind of has your intro marketing copy. And then that second page will have a purchase agreement. Now, before we dive in and I share the nitty gritty on which one is the best, I need to share with you guys a really interesting story. So in January, we had a gentleman named Andy Barlow join our Leah Group coaching program. And prior to working with us, he worked with a different coaching outfit. He worked with them for a few months. And the piece of advice that they gave him is, hey, Andy, you're brand new to land, but what you should do is send out 40,000 neutral letters. And so he put a lot of his money on the line, sent out 40,000 neutral letters, and got 0 deals from it. He was working with his wife in the business. They were stressed, dealing with the tsunami, this tidal wave of leads coming to them. They couldn't pre-qualify the leads. They couldn't work through them. And so they walked away from that arrangement with no deals. And I'm happy to say, after Andy joined us in April, he hit his first $30,000 profit month. He's made up the losses that were made from that huge neutral letter campaign. And he's on track to do multiple 6 figures this year. And so how were we able to get him back on track? And I promise this will tie into the full story. Well, first off, there's a lot of different things that we covered, right? We really had to hone in on his market selection process. We had to hone in on his acquisition process. But the first piece of advice that we helped, and the first thing that we instilled into his business, was getting him off of the neutral letters. Because if we look at what is the best offer type for new land investors, frankly, it's going to be blind offers. Now, why is that? Well, first we need to understand, what is the goal of mailing? What is the goal of marketing in this business? At the end of the day, the goal is not to get a deal, right? The goal of any piece of marketing is to pre-qualify a lead. right? Now, you can pre-qualify a lead via the piece of marketing if it has a price on it. And if someone raises their hand, that's a form of pre-qualification. You've kind of sifted through the bad leads and theoretically the good leads are reaching out. Now, you can do that via your marketing, or you can do that internally via your sales process. That second option might look like is, hey, you send out 40,000 neutral letters. Well, you're gonna need a really big team of salespeople to work through those leads and figure out who's serious, who wants to take a less than market value price, and whose property do we actually want to buy, right? There's a lot of work that happens once the lead starts coming in. And so when we look at new land investors, one, they have no acquisition experience. They probably never talked to a seller lead before. And if we look at the avatar of folks inside of our group coaching program, they fall into two different categories. One, they have a high-paying W-2, or two, they own a separate business. What does that mean? That means that they don't have oodles and oodles of time to work in the business and take calls from sellers. Because once those campaigns go out, you have no say about when those calls come in, right? They come in and you have to reactively take them. When I first started my land business, I was working at W-2. I was taking calls at 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 1 a.m. I was taking calls in the closet at work, in the bathroom at work, and I was just getting bombarded with leads calling me, and I had to pick up those calls. Now, if we look at that compared to having pre-qualification on the front end, what will happen is we'll go and send our letter. If it has a price on it, then someone will call us if they like that price. We're going to be dealing with a much smaller grouping of leads, and those leads are going to be worth our while because they've been pre-qualified. And so that means that if you're spending your time reactively taking those calls, well, gosh darn it, they better be the right people to be talking to. In Andy's case, he generated nearly 400 leads from those 40,000 letters and got no deals from it because he couldn't sift through them. He couldn't get back to them in a timely manner. He didn't know who was serious and who was just full of crap and trying to get, above market value. It creates this horrific dynamic. And the beautiful thing about using a blind offer is the work is proactive, which if you're someone that has outside obligations, that is what you want to optimize for. Proactive work looks like working on your mailer during the weekends, working on your mailer in the morning before work or after work in the evening. You get to dictate when the time gets spent on that. And for new land investors, for new entrepreneurs, that is how you want to build your business, right? You want to be in the driver's seat, working proactively, not being a slave to your business and having all these reactive calls coming in that you have to work through. The second thing, and really the reason that Andy's experiment failed with the 40,000 neutral letters, is because to manage that many leads that have been pre-qualified, you've got to have serious sales chops. You've got to be really, really good at talking to sellers, and that's not easy to do, especially if you're brand new to this business. That is going to be a very foreign experience. What you'd rather have is you send out a blind offer, it's got a price listed on it, the person calls you back and says, hey, I reviewed it, I like the price, I want to sell. There's no salesmanship involved in that. That is what we call taking low-hanging fruit. That is very, very easy to do. Whether you're just starting or you've been in this business for years, that is one of the best situations to find yourself in. All right, quick interruption. If you are looking to grow a 6 or 7 figure land investing business, you're most likely going to want to check out our land investing scholarship. This gives you access to the Leah Group Coaching Program at discounts never before seen, allows you to work with myself and directly with our team of Leah coaches. If you think you're a good fit for it, I recommend applying. The link is down in the description below. If you are selected, we'll move forward with a call and get everything going. Anyways, back to the video. That all happened because that blind offer went out like your soldier and pre-qualified that lead for you. All you had to do was pick up the phone and say, yes, let's do the deal. Pretty damn simple. The third thing is, and again, when we look at Andy's experience, one of the problems was he was also brand new to the land business. What that meant is his ability to do due diligence on deals and underwrite deals was pretty low on the totem pole of skill sets, right? He was brand new to the business. And so to get 400 leads and have to run through and do due diligence and comp all those properties is a nightmare, especially if you don't have the skill set to do that. And so when we look at blind offers, the only way to do them effectively is by finding areas that have homogeneous pricing. And what that means is a lot of your due diligence and underwriting actually happens on the front end, right? Because when we look at our market selection process, what are we trying to do? We're trying to find markets that have high levels of demand so our properties sell quick. We're trying to find markets that have homogeneous pricing as well. Because if you go try to blanket a county with blind offers and create offers for all of them, it's simply impossible. And so by virtue of using a blind offer, you've got to take smaller chunks of markets that have clean, uniform pricing. It's the only way to do this in a manner where you don't want to pull your hair out. And the beautiful side of that is most of the work happens at scale, right? Instead of looking at one-off deals, we will go look at a market that has 300 properties. Let's say we're looking at a subdivision, and we'll say, hey, every deal is selling for about 40 grand here. so we're gonna offer 20 grand. And when we get a deal coming back to us, we know within a high level of certainty that it's a deal, right? And so a lot of that due diligence work happens on the front end. Now, that's not to say that we don't review the deals and review the leads once we get them. That would be silly, but the heavy lifting is done for you. The problem with taking a neutral letter approach is that most people do zero due diligence on the markets they select. Because why would they, right? They don't have to learn the pricing. They don't really look at if there's any good sell-through rate or anything along those lines. They just go and throw mail out and hope something good happens. If we look at Andy's story, he took a bunch of different markets in Florida and just threw mail out. And of course, when deals started coming back to him, he's like, dude, this thing's in a swamp. I don't know if this thing has a lot of value or no value. This one's like on the side of a highway. I think it's a commercial lot. And he's brand new to the land business, so he had no familiarity with that process. The next thing is that when we look at the avatar of a seller, right? When we look at someone that's trying to sell their land, why do they sell their land to us? Well, there's a few reasons that go into it. The first is, yes, price. Price does matter. But really what we see more so than price is convenience, right? Ease of the transaction, that you can close quickly, that there's not a lot of friction in the transaction, you cover closing costs, there's not a lot of haggling and negotiating and going back and forth. And a blind offer delivers that, right? A blind offer is a solution to a seller that they rarely see. Imagine you were having a garage sale and you were gonna sell all of your stuff the next day, right? And you have no idea what you're gonna sell your stuff for. Imagine that the night before, a dude rolls up to your house and says, hey, I know you're gonna have a garage sale tomorrow. I'll give you $500 for everything you have right now. You don't have to deal with the headache of trying to get people to come to your garage sale and to barter and to negotiate tomorrow. Most people would say, heck yes, right? That is the mindset of a seller. They've got this illiquid asset, and really, if they're gonna look to sell, they want to do it in the lowest friction way possible. And a blind offer is really a service to a buyer. And so the amount of compliments and gratitude and thanks that we get for providing a seamless, easy transaction goes a long way. When you're sending out a neutral letter, people know what they're gonna get themselves into. Oh, this is gonna be a negotiation. They didn't give a price. I'm gonna have to haggle back and forth. Most humans despise negotiating. Most humans despise confrontation. And so by providing that price, you're also making it a much easier experience for a seller. And what we've learned is that for sellers, it's not just about price, right? It's about convenience. And the second part is it's about rapport, right? That's a whole nother topic that we could take a long time to talk about. Perhaps we'll cover in a future video, but rapport goes a long way in this business. Now you might be saying, Sumner, okay, cool. I get the idea, including a price. It's important, pre-qualification, blah, 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 blah. But what about range offers? Well, I think range offers are a tool in our tool belt, and I think they deserve a place in our business. But the truth about range offers is they're kind of a hybrid between a blind offer and a neutral letter, right? Would I prefer a range offer over a neutral letter for a new land investor? Absolutely. But again, for new land investors, I would really encourage the blind offer route, because the sizable difference in the number of leads that you get is pretty gargantuan, right? If I send out 10,000 blind offers, I might get about 50 leads, right? But those leads are very qualified. If I send out 10,000 range offers, I might get 120 or 150 seller leads. That's a substantial amount of additional work. If you send out 10,000 neutral letters, you might get 200, 250 seller leads calling you back. And the funny thing is, in all three of those examples, there's just a handful of really good sellers with really good properties. But the blind offer route is whittling down that list. Imagine you have to find a needle in a haystack. Out of 50 people, out of 150 people, or out of 200 people, which option would you take? Of course, you would take the easier one with just 50 people that you have to sift through. So the times that I encourage folks to use range offers is, one, if you find yourself in a market where you really want to work in it, the demand's great, whatever's pulling you there tells you this is a great market, but there's no way to reliably price it out. Okay, I would rather have a range offer that's priced appropriately than a bunch of really crappily priced blind offers. The second time to use a range offer is once you start building a team. Because the truth is, blind offer is actually not the best strategy for every land investor. Blind offers are the best strategy for new land investors. But actually, if we think about this from a form of principles, theoretically, a neutral letter is actually the best offer type for investors. And I'm saying something that contradicts everything you just said. Well, yes and no. Because once you start building your land business, you have revenue coming and you start establishing a team, then the game really becomes, okay, how do we scale our marketing? The truth is, it's really difficult to do 20, 30, 40, 50,000 blind offers a month. I was doing that for a long time. It's really difficult to scale. And so you start having to find offer strategies that are easier to use to allow you to scale your marketing, right? So in order for us to hit our marketing goal in terms of a number of mailers, you have to start throwing in different offer strategies that allow you to do that. The catch-22 though is that you need a team to support that. This really becomes very much just a people and a labor play. If I send out 100,000 neutral letters, I'm going to get thousands of leads, and I need that infrastructure to support that. The truth is, any land investor that's coming into this business that's brand new does not have either the budget or just the skill set typically to build a team. That means as a solo operator, we're trying to optimize for how can we make the most money for the hours that you're putting in. But as you scale up, it's a different problem that you run into. Then you start running into how do we grow our marketing, and you'll really start to cap out with doing blind offers. And frankly, if you're just doing a blind offer strategy, you will run into markets that are simply impossible to accurately price. And because of that, if you want to work in those markets, you'll have to start throwing in different offer types. And guys, this is not a contradiction. This is frankly the reality of business, right? What got you to get started is not going to get you to the 10th point that you need to get to in your journey, and won't get you to the 30th point. At every level, you're needing to take new worldviews and new skill sets to continue to level up. But what we're speaking to here is the folks that are trying to go from 0 to $250,000, 0 to 300,000. The blind offer is the strategy that will get you there. So learn from this video, learn from Andy's experience. Look at Andy joined us in January, and he's earning at $30K a month by implementing the right playbook. If you guys want to learn more, you guys can click the link down below. Come hang out with us in Discord and come get involved in the community. It's totally free, and frankly, it's totally awesome. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next video.